Welcome to Akhand Vidyashram, the first institute of impeccable wisdom. SUGANDH, SUSWADH, the science of two chemical senses. SUGANDH means great fragrance. SUSWADH means palatable taste, good for digestion, good for health. Then Divyank. Now I realize that we should create something which is like a walking, talking encyclopedia of impeccable wisdom, and these videos are like walking, talking encyclopedia, and I've made sure that all impeccable wisdom associated with everything which every human being should know to be healthy, wealthy, and wise should be covered step by step, one by one, as an encyclopedia, and each video could be a book by itself. But since we cannot make too long, so I'm trying to represent here only the essence or most important part, not in detail, which we might cover as we proceed further to explain in much more in detail. From that, let's move on to the next step, which will be part of. Let me again say, my mission, the impeccable wisdom, knowing which everything is fully known, my greater discover Divyank, the divine design of nature with which the perfect objects are designed and created. Divyank is the reward of 60 years of integrated education or Akhand Vidya, and I'm glad what I started to look for perfection as a child. Over a period, I've been able to come to the level of Divyank and show this is the perfect model, this is the perfect designs, and knowing which everything else is known. Let's use this particular knowledge to bring clarity on our subjects so that we teach perfect wisdom or impeccable wisdom from school, college to the university, step by step in such a way that students do not have to unlearn and relearn, which is a challenging job. We need to create something which we can do today, which was not possible earlier. But I know the kind of facilities we have, artificial intelligence we have, kind of equipment we have, kind of mediums we have, including YouTube and Google, etc. We can do wonders hereafter. Now let's start. 5 basic elements are Panchbhutas, which control the entire process of creation, sustenance, and dissolution. As Sanatana Dharma, ancient Indian wisdom, makes it very clear, everything is created from Panchbhutas, is sustained by Panchbhutas, dissolves into Panchbhutas. So everything centers around Panchbhutas only. Now from that point, let me explain. Video of Shruti, direct hearing, or clairaudience is associated with Akash Bhuta. Please note, Akash Bhuta is the 5th state of matter or plasmatic state of matter or quintessence or ether or effulgence. Everything has started only from there, and its symbol is pentagon, 540 degrees. Now it is gross level is associated with ears and hearing, which everybody hears. But be in tune with Akash Kosh, the treasure of cosmic consciousness. From this, all information is again Akash Kosh, Akash Bhuta, and according to Devanagari or Sanskrit, each letter is called Akshara, is again associated with Akash. Is it a coincidence? Or beauty of ancient Indian Sanskrit language to say Akash Bhuta, Akash Kosh, Akshara, and Shabda and thereafter. I think there is a lot must have gone into the creation of these words, which mean very, very clear, only one thing at a time. Some Akash, now that was with Shruti. Vayu Bhuta is Vayu element, which is a second element. It's associated with touch and sparsh. We shall talk about it later under nervous system. Third, Agni Bhuta, the fire element, symbol is triangle and associated with sight, vision, and eyes. Gross, with what we see with the eyes, is a gross form of Agni Bhuta. You can call it subtle form clairvoyance or divya drishti. Now those two things we have already covered in the last two videos, and this is, I'm showing, this is their association with Akash Bhuta as well as Agni Bhuta. In this particular video, I'm talking about SUGANDH and SUSWADH. As I told you, SUSWADH is a good taste, palatable taste, good for, and it is associated with Prithvi Bhuta, or the lowest form of earth element, is associated with solid matter, and percentage of solid matter in the body should be 38.1966. So even their design is like that. Prithvi Bhuta 38.1 and SUSWADH, good taste, is with Apabhuta or water element, and its percentage should be 61.8034%. Both are integral part of Divyank ratio or Divyank. I'm thinking now from this point of view, I think it's very clear the relationship of all the five senses with five elements. I think I've made it very clear how they are associated, how the words are interconnected, how we can build our knowledge with a much more crystal clear, so that this is literally like an encyclopedia. Now let's talk of smell, sensation, the olfaction, the pathway. I put rose flower because everybody is very fond of rose, and rose smells really good. There's no doubt about it. Now, fragrance from there travels to the mucous membrane of the nose, roof of the nose, where the mucous membrane is, and then there you have receptors for olfaction. Olfactory cilia there. Then you also have sporting cells or olfactory cells as well as gland of Bowman. They form another layer in which olfactory cells are embedded, and they are connected with olfactory bulb, which is further divided into glomerulus part and then associated with mitral cells, which are neuron cells, are the second order of neurons. And those nerves put together travel as an olfactory tract to olfactory cortex. But up to olfactory cortex is all what the books normally talk about it. All the books say olfaction, the first cranial nerve associated with olfaction, is the only sensation which does not go to thalamus. I agree, there is no direct connection of olfaction with thalamus, and there is no need for it, because it is more to do with emotions and other facilities rather than the perception alone. But from olfactory cortex, signals do go to frontal cortex, hypothalamus, and directly to this, plus amygdala and other things which I'm going to talk about in another picture thereafter. But let's have very clear idea how fragrance, good or bad smell, also is carried to the mucous membrane, and mucous membrane have to be moist, because this is a chemical sensation, and chemical sensation cannot be perceived unless until there is a water. This is also one point which I want to make it very, very clear. Chemical sensations without water cannot function. So adequate amount of water, particularly 61.8034, would make sure whether it is smell, whether it is a taste or health, otherwise we are perfectly normal human beings. So from there, let's go to the next stage of human tongue and taste. Now, as far as specific, well-defined tastes are concerned, incidentally, there are again 5 different tastes. But tongue has been designed again according with the Divyank ratio. Let's start with the posterior 1/3 of the tongue, or 38.196% of the area of the tongue, which is behind, is associated with a bitter taste, not with a sweet taste or palatable taste. And its information is carried through Glossopharyngeal Nerve, which is 9th cranial nerve, to nucleus tractus solitarius, and from there it is carried to thalamus, and partly to insular cortex, and partly to the neuron system of the neocortex on one side, and from thalamus with the insular cortex is also associated with other parts of the brain like hypothalamus, frontal cortex, amygdala, etc., which I'll show you in the next picture. It is much more clear. So I'm sure this pathway is very clear. So posterior 1/3 through glossopharyngeal nerve to this. But anterior 2/3 is associated with savory taste, which is Indian taste, sour taste, which is associated with the posterior side of the front tongue. Salt is the anterior side of the lateral side, and sweet at the tip of the tongue. So these 3-4 areas with those papillae, circumvallate papillae, or foliate papillae, or fingernail papillae, or filiform papillae, they are responsible to perceive these sensations, and these sensations are carried to the brain through cardia tympani branch of the facial nerve, which is 7th cranial nerve. Again, this information, as the picture very clearly says, goes to nucleus tractus solitarius in the brainstem, and brainstem is made of midbrain, pons, and medulla oblongata. And these particular set of nuclei called nucleus tractus are found in all the 3 parts of the brainstem: midbrain, pons, as well as medulla. From there, sensation is carried to thalamus and further. Now, role of insular cortex, because central autonomic nervous system plays very important role in perceiving this sensation. Both glossopharyngeal nerve and facial nerve, along with the oculomotor nerve and vagus nerve, are the 4 cranial parasympathetic nerves which are part of the central autonomic integration in the insular cortex. As a result, they work in unison with each other to make sure that we are perfectly safe. Now, to perceive this, you have taste receptors, and sweet is carried through sodium glucose pump, salt with the sodium alone, sour with the hydrogen ions, and bitter, of course, is. But here I would like to bring one thing very clear. I think this is something which is not presented here as such, but I think I should talk about it. Why did nature have good taste 2/3 in the anterior tongue separately carried through cardia tympani as the facial nerve, whereas 1/3 of the last, which picks up the bitter, is through glossopharyngeal. Glossopharyngeal carries information from posterior part to the brain, but glossopharyngeal is also the nerve which is responsible for vomiting. That means bitter subject or bitter taste could be a representation of a poisonous product. If things are too poisonous which can damage the body, that same stimulus through the glossopharyngeal to the brain, and this will act as a sensory as well as motor component of the glossopharyngeal nerve, so that we immediately vomit it off. What a beautiful thing. Bad taste with the bitterness, which could be cyanide poisoning and other poisoning, which when the body perceives it, you immediately vomit it off so that it is not absorbed within the body. What nature defense mechanism. Whereas good taste, and through this, not the single nerve integrated reflex. I think it's wonderful to understand nature's beauty and then present it. I think it's literally good knowledge, detailed data, information, knowledge, and wisdom of human anatomy, physiology, biochemistry, and psychology should give us a better knowledge, so that with that we can help ourselves to be very healthy, wealthy, wise. Ignorance is not bliss. It's a knowledge which gives you the power, and that is what these videos are all about. Now, having explained about smell pathway and also taste pathway, I think now let's go to the next one. Here I have written very clear. Close association of smell and taste. Why did nature make both smell and taste? And what is the evidence they were integral part of a good system? Let's take the smell sensation first. Olfactory receptors, bulb, olfactory tract to olfactory cortex to maybe hippocampus, amygdala, hypothalamus. The whole thing which I've talked about it, I brought in hippocampus as well as amygdala because these are the responsible for olfactory memory and sometimes emotional response to smell with amygdala. That's the picture I put. Amygdala, emotional response, hippocampus for olfactory memory, and also association with reticular formation, which is in the brain stem, which is the visceral response to smell. If smell is bad, we immediately close the nose as well as eyes and try to run away. So visual signal and sensations can be perceived by reticular system and they can function together to save ourselves from bad smell or which could be dangerous. Now that is as the smell is concerned. Now as far as gustatory receptors are concerned or the taste receptors are concerned, as I told you, cardiac temporal nerve or the facial nerve is associated with the anterior two-thirds or 61.8034% of the tongue carries good taste, and posterior one-third or 38.1966% carried through the glossopharyngeal nerve, which is associated with bitter taste and to the brain. Then nuclear tractus stultaris and then thalamus, and from thalamus to hypothalamus, and thereby through the medium of hypothalamus, both smell and taste get interconnected. And incidentally, both these sensations need water. Without water, you cannot taste anything. Ayurveda says very clearly, treat food, when you eat food, it should be like liquid. Ann should be like a liquid and liquid should become a solid. And I think that message is very clear that we should chew food in such a way that whole thing becomes a liquid with the water to get maximum advantage of the taste and digestion, absorption, assimilation of nutrients for a perfectly healthy body. I think this is one thing which is very, very clear on this particular side. Now, to prove that there are sensations with evidence which nobody can deny or which almost everybody would have experienced at one stage or other. Suppose you have common cold, dry nose, blocked nose, or the nose receptors are not at all normal, cannot perceive, there is no water. In that particular condition, in the best of the coffee, the most fragrant, tasty, you can't taste. Even the flavor of the best coffee or very stimulating coffee, you cannot taste or smell if your nose is blocked or is dry or there is no water. So I think there's enough to prove that they are associated. If you can smell the food clearly and taste it clearly and the water is there, digestion, absorption, assimilation of nutrient is going to be much better. I think from that point of view, I'm very happy to bring this particular impeccable wisdom to the world, association with SUGANDH and SUSWADH, and how we can use that knowledge to make sure. As I told you in the beginning, posterior one-third of the tongue, bitter, because if anything bitter is taken, we can vomit because glossopharyngeal nerve itself can work as a single nerve reflex action. You don't have to go to the brain to do it. It can do it immediately. Like your pain receptors in legs work in one unit, both receptors and effectors are there in the same segment of the spinal cord. Here also receptor as well as effector is associated with the same segment of brainstem which is associated with glossopharyngeal nerves. So very moment you see, you immediately vomit. You don't have to depend on another signal from another brain. That immediate spontaneous response can save you better is what the message is all about. I'm glad that I'm able to emphasize on those things which normally books don't talk about it. But the kind of knowledge which is required for impeccable wisdom for the entire world, I think Akhand Vidyashram is able to do it step by step in a better way, and I'm glad that I'm able to do that effectively. Now, coming to the end again, thank you very much. It has been a lovely explaining spirituality and science put together and say this is what it is. But now, in this particular picture, I would like to show the light at the bottom. You have Mooladhara Chakra. And Mooladhara Chakra is associated with Prithvi element, smell and nose. The second one is associated, Swadhisthana is associated with water and with the taste. Is it a coincidence that these two things play a very important role in making physical body, and one is associated with smell and solid matter and Prithvi element, another is water and the taste, and they go hand in hand. And if these two centers of consciousness are Mooladhara Chakra and Swadhisthana Chakra perfectly normal, I think we should have no problem with respect to smell and taste and healthy life otherwise. No wonder Tantra talks about it. Strengthen these two centers for a perfect physical health. And from that point of view, I think I've been lovely correlating chakral knowledge or ancient Indian wisdom of Tantra with the physical anatomy, physiology and biochemistry. Anyway, thank you very much. It has been lovely talking to you.